Hi, I'm Harp. I'm here with Susitha, who's going to tell us a little bit about the workshop she's presenting on Sunday, February 19th in the morning and evening, and it is on self-love, divine love, and emotional healing. So thank you, Susitha, for answering a few questions and just letting us know what your workshop is going to be like.
Thank you, Harp.
So maybe we can start with the emotional healing. Can you just explain a little bit? What does that mean?
Okay. So before we talk about the healing, I just want to talk about the emotions and how, there are, maybe we can say, three categories of emotions. And on one category is the positive emotions. Those are the emotions that make us feel uplifted, expansive. These are the emotions that we really enjoy, like happiness, compassion, empathy, and all of those emotions, right? But a lot of times we don't have that experience of having those emotions, and we feel very contracted. And those emotions, we can say, are the negative emotions, which include like sadness, anger, fear, guilt, shame. And it's very easy to identify this because when you're facing these emotions, you feel very small, you feel cut off, you feel contracted, and it's generally very difficult. And there's a third category of emotions called the neutral emotions, which is a willingness and an acceptance. So the two categories are separated by this neutral category of willingness and acceptance. So for example, a person who is maybe, going through many days of waking up with a feeling of heaviness, sadness, and one day this person decides that I'm going to do something about it. Okay, it's enough of this. So initially the person is facing sadness, which is the negative category, and then the person decides to do something about it, and that's the neutral category. So the neutral category is what kind of pushes us from the negative into the positive. So it's very important. So anybody who has a willingness and a determination or some kind of a trust that I can heal these emotions is already in a higher level of emotions. And if they work on these contracting emotions and heal them, the contracted emotions return to their natural state of love. So emotional healing is about really accepting that as a human being, I have a whole range of emotions. And it is a very natural part of my life, but I don't have to be a victim of the emotions that make me feel contracted. I can heal it. So having that knowledge, I think, is very important, and having a tool in hand is important. And so the emotional healing I talk about is really about having the knowledge about emotions and the right ways to work with emotions and move it back to love.
Okay, so how did you come to be doing the work that you're doing? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, so basically I'm an engineering graduate and I worked in the IT industry for many years, but there was a lot of dissatisfaction and I was not really happy and fulfilled at many different levels. And at one point, there was a lot of fear and anxiety in my life. And that's when I started seeking, and it was a very confusing phase. And I found emotional freedom techniques. And I got quite a lot of relief from EFT. But I would say it didn't really heal some core issues. And and then I reached a phase where I was again very challenged in life, and the tools and techniques I had was not enough. So the tools I had was EFT, positive thinking, law of attraction, and everything seemed to kind of just come to a dead end. And I was kind of forced to look deeper, look into, the spiritual aspect. I was guided by the teachers, books, and then I started discovering really who I am. Because one quote I read was, all suffering is because you don't know who you are, the root cause of all suffering. So that kind of resonated with me. And then, I just got deep into discovering myself. But I realized that even though the meditations were deep and powerful and very peaceful, some of those emotions of fear, sadness, loneliness seem to come back. But I didn't want to go back to the mind methods of healing. And I was thinking there must be some other way. There must be some way of healing this. And before I came to the point of saying there must be some way of healing it, I did a spiritual bypassing phase, which lasted very long, where I felt I'm not looking there, I don't want to go into those emotions. I would just keep suppressing it, denying it, bypassing it. Sometimes we say it's all happening for the good or something, but everything but healing. And then, I was forced because there was just too much. It was just not going away. And then I studied, through studied with various masters books about how to actually heal in a spiritual perspective and in a loving and kind manner, because that's what resonated with me. And through various trial and error and study and applying on myself, that's how I created this method, that is emotional healing with divine love.
Okay. And so how does that kind of compare to how most people might go about working on that aspect of themselves?
Yeah, so most times what happens is, the healing happens at the level of the mind, and the mind is given that supreme power to kind of work on the healing. But one important question we can ask ourselves is, what is aware of the mind? So there is a presence which is more powerful and prior to the mind, which is the divine presence, which is your true self. So the mind level of healing, it's definitely better than not, taking any action, but I feel it has its limitations. Obviously, this is very subjective. If people are getting help, it's good. But if people are feeling like, okay, I'm done with that and I need something more, I would recommend this path. So the important question is, there is an awareness which is aware of the mind. So why would we settle for a mind level healing when we can reach to the divine? So this method of healing is about really connecting to that deeper presence that is there, whether you call it consciousness, Christ light, divine light, whatever way. And the steps are created in such a way that the person can effortlessly do this healing and surrender that particular emotion to the divine. And the understanding is that every anger, every sadness, every fear, it's not a bad thing. It's only aspects of us that are not loved. Maybe in childhood, suddenly we had a scare and that fear went into the body. And this fear is still there even as an adult. And what we do when we have this fear, we panic, we feel something is wrong. But if we can rephrase, and rather reinterpret these triggers as something wants to be loved, something wants to be seen. And if we can approach that fear with, okay, this is an old energy, and that's what we do in the healing. We basically acknowledge the energy and surrender it to the divine. So I would say this works at a level of consciousness or divine light rather than at the level of the mind.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So what kind of person would benefit most from this? Do you see some common challenges that people are going through where this has been helpful?
Yes. So the reason a lot of my workshops are centered around self-love hub is because I think it's a primordial wound that every one of us carries. A lot of times when I work with clients, and including myself, we feel like, okay, I've had these particular memories and that's why I don't feel lovable. But what I feel is this is almost everyone, struggles with self-love. And one is it's a primordial wound because we were one with the divine, and then we're here, we're born into this planet, and there is a kind of a wound of separation. And the second thing is through our difficult memories that each and every one of us go through, no matter how protective our parents are, somehow I think it just seeps in, where we feel that somehow I'm not lovable, right? So that wounds are there, and it's very important to heal it. And so when those wounds are there, what we do is we start seeking that the solution or the medicine for that wound through people, or sometimes through success, through money. And you notice that sometimes people don't stop, because when you reach that, it's you feel it's healed, and then it doesn't last. Right? So that wound of self-love, people are generally seeking the solution in the outer world. or sometimes it's through the body trying to look good and things like that, but it's not a lasting solution. So the solution to self-love is realizing that you are a child of the divine and reconnecting with the divine. That is one part. And the second part is also that love is not conditional. We're so used to feeling that if I do well, I'm loved as a child, right? We take on those conditioning. As we grow up, there are different conditionings. But love is not something really that we have to strive for. It is our birthright. And if we can feel this love in our own heart with the divine and heal all our wounds, then we are vibrating with love. And then our relationships and our relating is more from like a celebration, not a seeking. Because when we seek love, what happens? Unconsciously, people get put off. Right. And then we feel more bad, and it kind of feeds the wound that I'm not lovable. So anybody who's struggling with love in their life, if they investigate, they will feel that there is a lack of self-love. And for some time, I would advise, just kind of focusing more on the healing, focusing on reconnecting with the divine, feeling the love of the divine. And then when you feel it in your heart, you will see that the outer world is reflecting that love.
Okay, thank you. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about the format of the workshop itself on the 19th. So
Yes.
what does it look like in terms of what can people expect when they come?
Okay. So we'll talk about, how to heal the wounds of self-love, how to reconnect with the divine. And I'll also be teaching the emotional healing method, the step-by-step approach on how to heal any negative emotion, any contracted emotion. And I do want to say that the workshop, if you want to attend the workshop, it's not necessary to have any particular religious belief. But if there is a trust in a higher power, whether you call it consciousness or the now, it is definitely helpful. So it's a very experiential workshop. There will be methods taught on how to reconnect with the divine, how to heal the wounds, so that you have a particular format that you can follow for the next few months to work on your healing.
Okay, so when people leave the workshop, then they can take what they've learned and apply it in their, day-to-day lives kind of thing.
Exactly. So they will have a tool which is like really practical and very, very concrete and tangible, because this method, wherever I have taught in workshops or in the one-on-one sessions, I ask them to kind of check, you're feeling sad right now. What number would you give it on a scale of 0 to 10? And we do the healing for around 5 minutes and we check again. And almost all the times, the number reduces. So the participants will learn in the workshop itself that this is something that works.
Okay. Okay, great. The only question I have left is, where do people go if they would like to get more information and if they would like to register?
Yes. So all the details are on my website. That's heartawakening.net. Okay. And there is a link called Self-Love Workshop, and they can click on the link, and the registration details, the fee details are all there. And
Okay,
another thing I
perfect.
want to add to HAP is the workshop will also cover the aspect of the difference between human love and divine love. Right? Because when we love humanly, sometimes, even though we give a lot of love, even though we're very sincere, sometimes we still feel depleted. We feel like it's not valued. Why do
Right.
why in spite of loving so much, I'm still feeling, this void. So that is because we do not know how to love spiritually. And Herb Fitch says, when you learn to love spiritually, that is a true way of learning. True way of loving. And he compares human love to a flashlight and divine love to the sunlight. So he says, why would you settle for human love when you can love divinely?
Right. Okay. 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 Well, thank you for sharing. And so that was heartawakening.net.
Yes.
For more information.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Susitha.
Thank you.